Welcome back, After Buzzers, to the Barry After Show, Season 2, Episode 6. The truth has a certain ring to it, and we see Barry and Fuches breakup of the century. We see the best acting ever. All that and more coming up for you next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Go ahead. What's up, party people? I am your host, Erika Edwards, and we're here to talk all things Barry, and I couldn't do it without my girls. So give it up for Miss Conversation Piece.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
And Alexa Cappiello.
What is up? I'm so excited to talk about this episode.
I know. So we're back, we're in the trenches, and after that amazing escape last week, we're back with Barry and Fuches. What do you guys think overall of this episode? What did you think?
Overall, I was kind of struggling with the truth myself, the same way Barry is, because we can't decide if he's really good or he's bad. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But, I see that he's becoming more vulnerable and still going, working towards being an actor, and I see him, making growth as a person, even though he's still killing people.
Okay. Your thoughts, Alexa?
I loved this episode. I thought it was awesome. The whole time, I thought, the scene where he's performing the scene with Sally, I was like, is he gonna break? Is he gonna actually, delve into that deep part of him where he's actually a murderer, and is he gonna actually hurt her? And that whole scene was done so brilliantly. I can't wait when we actually talk about the whole thing in this episode.
Very true. I totally enjoyed this episode. It's always amazing to me how much they get in 30 minutes, and we here at AfterBuzz try to do the same. But in the very first scene, we see Barry and Fuches, and it is like a breakup. And I have a picture of it the moment that Barry actually starts to walk away. He still turns around, but he walks away. Do you guys think, and I'll ask you, Miss Conversation Piece, since you don't know if Barry is good or bad, do you think that this breakup is permanent?
After watching the entire episode, I do not feel like it's permanent, because Fuches is definitely searching for things to hold over Barry's head, and he's found something. And so I think that is going to get Barry back into playing his position, even though he doesn't want to, and which goes back to my prediction, he has to get rid of Fuches.
Right, exactly. Yes, I agree with you on that one. How about you?
Fuches is not gonna let Barry walk away. That would just be saying goodbye to money. Mm-hmm. And that's what he cares about the most, his business. And I mean, Barry had that line, "I am your business." He says to him, "You're a killer, but I make that as an asset. But I am your business." Barry says, "You're an idiot. You are out of moves." And I think Fuches is going to come after him as much as he can to make sure that Barry stays under his thumb.
What do you think Fuches could have done besides not wear the wire and the things that he's done, to Barry, to keep him wanting to be on this team? Because as an assassin, he's tired. Even if Fuches was nice as NoHo Hank, he still doesn't want to do this. So what could Fuches have done? Found someone else? Or what do you think he could have done?
Honestly, I think Fuches was put in a position where he couldn't do anything else other than comply. He was caught.
Right.
The police caught him, so he had to comply. I don't know what Barry expected him to do other than, I don't know, just not give his name altogether. But it seemed like Detective Loach already knew it was Barry.
Well, see, I think Detective Loach knew that it was Barry, but then again, Fuches wore the wire. And so that is, after all, he's a snitch. That is the ultimate betrayal, I would think. But what I find interesting about this particular scene and Fuches' reaction is, I totally disagree with you. I think that Fuches is, motivated by money, but I don't think that's his only motivation. Because to me, this scene and this whole episode, they both act like they were in a real relationship. And I think when Fuches is like, oh yeah, you think Gene, you choose him. I think Fuches is upset because he chooses Gene over him. Okay, and even when Barry starts to walk away, I'm done. He turns around, he's like, you're nothing without me. And that's not like, oh, I don't want to work here anymore or whatever. That's not. To me, it was just so much more emotional, so much more of an, I think he's more attached to Fuches than he even realizes.
You mean Fuches is more attached to Barry?
No, I think both.
Oh, they're both attached.
I think both because I think when Fuches was like, yeah, but did you tell him you murdered his girlfriend? And Barry is never going to get past that with Gene. You know what I'm saying? And even when we see Barry's interaction with Gene, Gene is always like, you killed somebody and got away with it. So Barry has got to start to realize he's never going to be accepted with Gene.
He's also saying that Barry's a good guy. He's like, you're not a bad guy. And that's where I'm saying, how are we going to decide that Barry really is good on the inside?
Well, Barry can be his full, complete self with Fuches.
Exactly,
and he can't be with Cousineau.
Exactly.
There's always a limitation.
I think that's always, as much as Barry wants to be good, but not being able to be who you truly are, I think sooner or later is going to be a problem. But the other person that Barry can also be his true self with is one of my favorites, my brother in wigs, NoHo Hank, and I love me some NoHo, and so this is the final training session between Barry and NoHo Hank and his men, and I have a photo here of just the camaraderie as they do the little circle dance around him.
That was hilarious.
It's so funny, and NoHo kills it every time. And there's a scene here between Barry and the protege guy. I don't think we have a name for him as of yet, or not one that I can pronounce. And he's like, oh, you gave me a purpose. And there's a moment there where Barry kind of seems like he's missing this life.
Yeah.
What do you think,
That's
Alexa?
what you thought? I mean, what I got from that was, oh, what have I done? You know what I mean? Like, I was training them to get out of this whole world, but look what I managed to also do. I have a protege. I have somebody that's good at their job of killing, and it's just going to continue on the cycle. He may not be there doing it himself, Barry, but he made this happen. He made this protege.
But then he has a purpose now, so that's the good.
Exactly.
It's the good and evil on your shoulder.
Exactly, because to me, I thought Barry saw in that person the same almost loser that we kind of got the feeling vibe that Barry was, the same person who everybody just thinks you're goofy and nothing until you pick up that gun and you're the man. And now he has given that same sense of purpose to someone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to see,
also
Barry
near
in his
the
element.
end with Cousineau telling Barry that he did a good job in this scene. You saw Barry look exactly the way that Russian kid did, which was like, oh, I'm accepted. I have purpose. Barry had that same sense of purpose. Like, I'm a good actor. He likes me. He's telling me that I'm doing a good job, too. So it's just a cycle of it over and over and over again.
Exactly. That crazy.
The writers are brilliant.
Yes, brilliant and hilarious all at the same time. But okay, before we move on to the next thing, Alexa, take it away.
That's right, guys. Before we move on, we just want to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV talk. But for us to continue to grow, we need your help. We need you to subscribe to us on YouTube. We need you to give us a rating and give us thumbs up and leave us a comment, because I promise you guys, we will respond. At least I will. I know you guys will too.
I will too, for sure.
So thank you guys so much for supporting us.
Thank you
so
guys. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that. Okay, so what's funny also is just in their writing style. So NoHo Hank is like, so, oh, Barry, I'm saying goodbye. And then the accordion player ruins the moment. And then
And then he goes off.
Exactly. And it's so interesting how they laid the groundwork, because you kind of like, really, NoHo, you don't need to be snapping like that. And you will pay the price.
I just
later.
thought it was like an inconsequential joke, like, oh, that's hilarious that he's yelling at the accordion player that's coming. And then, of course, and then it comes back. And I'm like, wow, guys, like, I did not expect that. You can't expect anything with this show.
Well,
They
see,
always
but
just...
to me, I feel that's the epitome of Hollywood, because you diss somebody who's a waitress, and the next thing you know, she's head of NBC. So that is what happens. You treat even the accordion player with respect.
Yes.
Exactly. Respect everyone.
And you know what else was interesting about like the whole NoHo Hank and Barry's situation was when basically he said he had a clean slate. He let him go, unlike Fuches. You know what I mean? When Fuches was like, "You're not going anywhere. We're gonna make more money, or at least let me work with NoHo Hank by myself." And when Barry was like, "Well, you didn't say I had to go to the training with you or go through with it with you," and he's like, "You know what? You're right. So you have a clean slate with me." And I think NoHo Hank is honorable in that respect. He let Barry go without a fight, and it's good riddance. You know what I mean? And it's not like
You
what
do
him
bring
and
up,
Fuches
that,
are going
yeah,
through.
that is a good point. I did notice that too. I was like, really, NoHo Hank? I didn't really buy it. I was like, well, yeah, he's saying this now, but as soon as he's in trouble, he's knocking on Barry's door. But I agree with you. He was really so much more low key with it than Fuches was, and I did actually really appreciate that, because it's like, okay, let Barry do his acting thing, get his acting on. So I totally agree with you on that. And not to go back to Fuches again, but when Fuches was like, well, let me do NoHo Hank without you. That's what makes me think Barry's not done, because Barry did turn. You can't do it without me. Right. And it's like, well, you don't know. Fuches is bumbling. We know that now. But that's when I was like, Barry's not ready to walk away. Not really.
Yeah. I saw that too.
I was like, he's not really ready to go.
I didn't take it that way. I think Barry was just being honest with Fuches and being like, yo, you don't got this. Like, I am your killer. I am the guy that goes out and does everything you want to happen. So without me, you're nothing.
I agree.
I see what you're saying, but I still feel like there was a lot of emotion behind that. That's like when your boyfriend is like, you ain't nothing without me. I mean, it's a toss-up, and you can debate it all day. So we'll move on from that. But yeah, like, to me, I feel like Barry's not quite done. I mean, I don't know.
I think differently. I think it's more of like what you said. He chose Gene over Fuches, but I think he chose NoHo Hank over Fuches because.
Oh well, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And I feel like NoHo Hank is more respectable, and I think that's why.
Yeah, I agree with you on the NoHo Hank part. I think Fuches betrayed him, so he may be done, but I'm not sure if he's done with that life. Is my point. All right, so let's move on to the acting.
So favorite scene of the whole.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so while Barry and Sally are working on Sally's scene together, Fuches totally hurt is the bumbling idiot in the woods. So we clearly know that.
Well, at first he's not. At first he's dressed up like he's in the army, and he seems like he knows what he's doing.
He has
he's
a cute
there.
outfit on, but he looks horrible. So, but before we get to that, we're gonna do. Let's talk about the scene with Sally and Barry. Yeah. And so the first time Sally reads it, and I was really touched, even though her whole class didn't clap or anything, I was really touched by her new truthful self, the truthful scene that she wrote about herself.
It takes guts.
What did you guys think of the first time they did it, even though it was like not the best acting or whatever?
I think the class really was taken aback as well. Like, I don't think their silence meant it was horrible. I think they were just like, oh, you went through this? Like, Sally, the bubbly girl that comes to class every day, like, they didn't think that she had been through this, even though she was telling the story. It was just a different
it was a
ending.
different version. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, she originally went in with the first story and said, this is my truth. And then she comes in with this second draft, which was drastically different. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure they were all just like, how do we process this?
I think
they were shocked. Yeah.
Exactly. It was very shocking. What I loved about this scene really is when they take it further, when she's turning down gigs to continue to work on her scene. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that is like not sort of spoofing the whole acting thing. Like, to me, if you really are dedicated to a piece of work, and it's more important than, you know, I mean, it sounded like a great role, don't get me wrong, but she was like, no, I got to work on this, and she hung up. And, you know, as an actress and a creative myself, I was like, wow, that's the kind of person you want to be.
I agree with you. I feel like
dedication.
Sally's gotten a lot of flack from fans, like, oh, she's so superficial, she's this, she's that, but she's honestly probably one of the bravest, most truthful characters of the whole series. Like, she's got a lot of guts, and I really appreciate the arc that they've taken with her in this episode and in this season in general. Even talking about the abuse that she went through, it's like it's so heavy, so real, so gritty, and they've been doing such a good job with it overall, I think. Exactly,
I agree. And so Barry decides to not do his scene, but work on Sally's scene. And there's this scene where we see Barry and Jean talking, and Jean is like, okay, you know, you have to reach down deep and use what you went through.
The worst thing on top of that.
First, I was shocked that Jean was even okay with Barry being like, all right, I'm not going to do my own scene. I'm just going to work on Sally's. He was just like, okay.
See, I was not. Because
I wasn't shocked either.
I wasn't shocked either, because the whole time he was like, because you know you murdered somebody and you got away with it. You know you murdered somebody and got away with it. And so the fact, I was like, Jean says he's accepted Barry, but he has not, because he's continued, you know, and Barry's like, yeah, you keep reminding me.
But the thing about the flashback, when he was using his truth to get into that character, the thing that he was flashing back to was Moss and what is it, Clergan, the country where he went. Cornwall.
Yeah, right.
I said Clergan. But anyway, he was flashing back between those two. Like, he couldn't decide what was worse. Like, both of those were horrible things, and Jean doesn't know about Janice and that he killed his girlfriend. So he's battling between these two things as being his truth to use for the scene.
Absolutely. And I think Bill Hader discussed this in the after show as well. They're like, you know, Jean says to him, because this is the worst thing you've ever done. And we all know, as fans of the show, it's not the worst thing he's ever done. He's killed his friend, he's killed Janice, he's killed people that he actually cared about for his own benefit or his own security. And so what is so interesting about how this show is done is that every time that Barry taps into who he really is, those are the times that his acting gets better. Because usually it's stale and horrible. I mean, just to be honest. But when he taps into how he really feels, then that's the picture that we have up for you guys right now, where Sally is holding Barry, and her agent loves it, everybody loves it, and it's amazing. And that's, you know, to me, it's like, oh, I love it when this show is good on the gangster side and good on the acting side. So, before we get out of here, so Fuches, you know, Fuches is like a bumbling idiot in the woods, but then we have a photo of when he finds the car. Barry, he's got you.
So he had something else to hold over Barry's head, Janice Moss's car, and I'm just wondering what he's gonna do with it.
It's evidence.
Is the body in there?
That's what I was talking to her about. I was like, I'm not sure if the body's in there. I don't think he would be that messy about it. I think he's hidden the body elsewhere, but he has the car. I don't exactly know what he's going to get from that.
Exactly. I mean, theoretically, there could, or it's likely that there is some sort of DNA for Barry.
Yeah,
in there,
maybe like his fingerprints.
Highly likely, or something like a hair. You know, maybe he did gloves. I would assume he's smart enough for that. But so that is his moment, and that's the thing. It's like that's what I'm saying. To me, Fuches isn't just holding this over Barry. He is channeled because through jealousy. To me, it's all about the relationship. And so I will bring up the closing scene, and the closing photo is we see Jean in the restaurant, in the Italian restaurant, and there is Fuches.
How did he get out of that forest so fast?
Exactly. He's like, I'm out of the forest. He Ubered. He found his way.
Lost, and now he's out of it.
Exactly. And we see Jean eating alone at the restaurant he used to eat Janice with. And then Fuchs' closing line, like from Harry Met Sally, I'll have what he's having. And I was like, boom. Because to me, I think it's not just getting Barry to do what you want. He wants to get rid of Jean, I think.
No, there's definite relationship there. Of course, we're always driven by that as well. It's just I think Fuchs sees money as well. Like there's both going on.
Right.
He definitely wants to get rid of Jean, but he doesn't have the guts to do it himself. He would stalk Jean.
I don't think he can either. He's not a killer. Fuchs
That's
is a
what I'm
point
saying.
person.
He doesn't have any usefulness to his name. Like he can't do anything. He can't even find himself through the woods.
He's got the brains.
Does he?
He's way more useful than the police academy is in this show.
I mean, I don't know if we've seen all of Fuchs, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen Fuchs. This is the most driven we've seen him, really.
Yes, it's true.
So this will be interesting to see how this plays out.
Real quick, can we go back to just the acting scene? Did you all think that Barry was going to snap and actually hurt Sally? Because I thought, he might.
No, I thought he was.
You know how they were practicing
Right,
the move,
right.
the stage combat move? I was like, I don't know. I really, when I was watching that scene, I just thought, is he going to actually hurt her? Is he going to snap and become who he really is in that moment? That's what had me at the edge of my seat.
So you think
when I was
Barry's bad?
watching.
Because I don't think he's the snapper and killer. Like I think he is sent out on these
He
jobs.
literally says that in another episode to Cousineau. He says, I don't like what I become. I get angry and then I do things. He snaps. That's what he was
I don't
talking
know.
about.
I think he does draw on it, but I don't think I thought he was.
Oh,
I mean, I was like, oh, he's really choking her, but
you didn't know I didn't know if he was actually choking her or
Right.
it was like, but it was such a good episode. Anyway, such a good scene too.
Yes, I loved that episode. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but to me, I feel like the more we see of him, Sally is bringing a weakness because he does. I think he genuinely has feelings for her. So I don't think he might snap on her out of anger, but I don't think in an acting class, I don't think he's like totally crazy. Not yet. I don't know. All right, you guys, before we get out of here, we have our special segment, Busted Everything Drugs.
Oh, yes. And in this segment, I have a story about someone who reminds me of Esther. Her name is Griselda Blanco. She's now deceased, and she was known as the godmother of cocaine. She was a drug lord operating between Miami and Colombia, and she was bringing in at least 3,500 pounds of cocaine into the U.S. every month. That's her picture right there. She looks very ruthless. She was a killer.
Oh, she looks sweet.
She used extreme violence to kill people. She publicly assassinated people in broad daylight. She bayoneting a rival trafficker inside of the Miami airport.
What?
Do you know what that is? That's like stabbing somebody and just walking away.
We do know bayonet.
Well, I didn't know what that was until I looked it up later.
Because bayonet
earlier.
is like a long...
Yeah, in the airport. And then she invented the drive-by motorcycle shooting, and that's actually how she was killed in 2012. Somebody
You
killed
live
her.
by the sword, you die by the bayonet. I think that's funny. I mean, Esther, we didn't go over this, but Esther actually got a big, great slap on NoHo Hank, but we'll discuss that.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, before we get out of here, let's do some quickly news and
Your
gossip.
AfterBuzz.
All right, so I saw an article that was written about Anthony Kerrigan, who plays NoHo Hank, and they did an interview about him and who NoHo Hank was as a person, and he just confirmed, how I was like, does he have a crush on like other dudes? Like, what's going on there? He just wants bros, man. He just wants a sense of family. He wants good friends ultimately, and he sees Barry as a Jason Bourne from Cleveland.
Exactly.
So I
love that.
hilarious.
I love that. And it's so good because, NoHo Hank tried to get it together this episode, but we'll see where he ends up. All right, you guys, before we get out of here, let's do some predictions. Alexa.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, I think NoHo Hank is not done with Barry. He's going to ask Barry for help in this whole, because he's in trouble right now.
Right.
So I think he's going to ask Barry
They
for
just
help.
knocked him out. I don't think he's going to get a chance to get to Barry.
We'll see.
right, Miss Combo Piece.
My prediction is Gene is in more trouble than he knows. Fuches is going to stalk him, but he's going to find someone else to do his dirty work. I feel like he's going to find someone to take Gene out.
Okay, I'm along those lines too. I do think that Fuches is going to stalk Gene, but I think Fuches is going to try to do it himself because he has no one else.
Or maybe the Russian guy.
And he'll probably end up bumbling, and I don't know, Barry will end up saving both Gene and NoHo Hank. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so much fun. And don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that other good stuff. It's great to see you guys and great for you all to comment. Again, I am your host, Erika Edwards. You can follow me on all of my social media at Erika, E-R-I-K-A-D as in door, Edwards.
And Miss Conversation Piece, you can add me on Instagram at MISS Conversation Piece, or you can also check me out on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta after show. I'm there every Monday as well.
And I am Alexa Cappiello. You can check me out on Instagram. Give me a follow at Alexa Cappy, Cappy.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
See
Come
you
back
later.
next week, same place, same time.
Bye.
Ciao for now, folks. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.